It was supposed to be an ordinary evening in the quiet suburbs of Vermont. The rain outside had turned into a soft drizzle, tapping rhythmically against the nursery window. Emily Carter, a 28-year-old single mother, had just put her 8-month-old baby, Noah, to sleep. The crib was secure, the baby monitor blinked softly on the nightstand, and the gentle hum of the lullaby filled the room. Everything looked peaceful, too peaceful. Emily walked downstairs to make herself a cup of tea, humming along to the monitor's static lull. For a moment, she thought she heard a faint clicking sound from upstairs. Probably the house settling, she whispered, brushing it off. But the sound came again, this time sharper. The baby monitor crackled. She froze. Through the tiny screen, she saw the crib, but the baby wasn't moving. Instead, something seemed to be standing behind it. The shadow shifted slightly, tall and unnaturally still. Emily blinked, thinking it was a glitch in the feed. But then the figure tilted its head slowly, as if it was looking straight into the camera. Her heart pounded. "Noah," she whispered, rushing up the stairs. The monitor suddenly went black. When she burst into the nursery, the crib was empty. The window was open, the curtains swaying gently in the cold night air. On the floor lay the baby's blanket, and on the wall, written faintly in condensation, were the words, "He's awake now." Emily screamed, searching frantically around the room, but there was no sign of anyone. Only the soft sound of the music box playing the same lullaby echoed through the silence. That was the moment she realized someone or something had been inside the house all along. Emily's trembling hands fumbled for the light switch, flooding the nursery in a pale, yellow glow. The crib stood perfectly intact, the mobile above it still spinning slowly, playing its haunting melody. But baby Noah was gone. Her breath came out in short gasps as she scanned every corner of the room. The closet door was half open. "Noah," she called softly, voice cracking. She pushed the door open with shaking fingers. Nothing but hanging baby clothes and a faint smell of baby powder. Then she noticed the footprints. Small, wet prints leading away from the crib, but they weren't Noah's. They were too big. The marks glistened faintly in the lamplight, as if something had walked out of the nursery barefoot after a storm. Panic surged through her chest. She grabbed her phone and dialed 911, but before the call could connect, the baby monitor came alive again. A faint hiss of static filled the air, followed by the soft sound of cooing. Noah's cooing. Emily froze. The sound wasn't coming from upstairs anymore. It was coming from the monitor in her hand. Through the grainy screen, she saw Noah lying in the crib again, perfectly still. "What the hell?" she whispered, inching closer to the crib to confirm. But when she looked inside, it was empty. The monitor showed Noah lying there, yet the real crib was vacant. A slow chill crept up her spine. She turned toward the window and noticed something outside, the faint outline of someone standing in the garden, facing the nursery. It was motionless, pale, and watching her. The baby monitor let out a piercing screech that made her drop it instantly. The screen flickered one last time before going dark, showing a single frame burned into her mind. Noah, being lifted by invisible hands. Emily realized this was no kidnapping. Something far worse was happening. Emily's mind was spinning. She locked every door, every window, whispering desperate prayers under her breath. The police said a unit was on the way, but the dispatcher's voice had sounded distant, almost distorted. Every shadow in the house seemed alive, moving when she wasn't looking. The storm outside grew heavier. Lightning flashed, throwing eerie silhouettes across the living room walls. For a split second, she saw Noah's small figure reflected in the TV screen, lying in the crib, eyes open. She turned quickly. Nothing. The room was empty. Then came a faint knocking. Tap, tap, tap. It was coming from inside the walls. Emily followed the sound into the hallway, heart hammering. The baby monitor flickered back to life on its own, lying where she dropped it. This time, the video feed showed something new, a hallway camera she'd known. It was showing her, standing in the very hall she was in. The voice on the monitor whispered, "Go back to where he sleeps." Her throat went dry. She forced herself into the nursery again. Everything was the same: crib, blanket, toys, but something was off. The wallpaper near the crib was peeling just slightly. The faint knocking was louder here. She hesitated, then tore a strip of wallpaper away. Behind was an old wooden panel, scratched, cracked, and slightly open. Emily's trembling hands pulled it wider. Cold air spilled out, carrying the faintest sound of Noah crying from somewhere deep inside. She leaned closer, whispering, "Noah." A hand, small, gray, and not human, shot out from the darkness, grabbing her wrist. She screamed, stumbling backward, slamming the panel shut. The crying stopped instantly. The house fell silent, except for one sound echoing softly through the baby monitor. A man's voice, whispering, "He's safe with me now." Emily collapsed to the floor, clutching the monitor, realizing that whatever had her baby was inside her home long before tonight. Emily sat motionless on the cold wooden floor, her heart racing as the storm raged outside. Every flash of lightning illuminated the nursery in violent bursts of white. Her mind kept replaying that moment, the hand that grabbed her, the voice through the monitor. Desperate, she called 911 again, but this time there was no signal. The call wouldn't even connect. The clock on the wall had stopped ticking, frozen at 3:12 a.m. It was as if time itself had paused inside the house. She needed help. Any help. Running downstairs, she yanked open old drawers and rummaged through dusty photo albums, searching for something, anything, that could explain what was happening. Then she found an old newspaper clipping tucked inside a photo book. The headline read, "Local family vanishes. Infant found dead in wall." Her blood ran cold. The article was dated 1979. The picture showed a woman standing in front of a house, her house. The same nursery window. Emily's hands shook as she flipped the photo over. On the back was a name scrawled in faded ink. Eleanor Graves. He wouldn't sleep. A loud creak echoed from upstairs. The baby monitor flickered on again by itself, showing a dimly lit space. Wooden beams, cobwebs, dust. It wasn't the nursery. It looked like a crawl space. Emily followed the faint crying sound back upstairs, every step heavier than the last. She found the wooden panel again and, using a flashlight, peered inside. Old toys lay scattered across the dirt floor. A small rocking horse moved slightly, creaking with each sway. In the corner, she saw a baby blanket. Noah's. Tears filled her eyes. "Noah, Mommy's here," she whispered. Then, from the shadows, a woman's voice answered softly, "He's been waiting for you." Emily turned her flashlight toward the sound and saw a pale woman standing barefoot, holding Noah in her arms. But the woman wasn't alive. Emily froze, the beam of her flashlight trembling as it landed on the woman in white. She stood completely still, long, wet hair clinging to her face, eyes pale as glass. In her arms, she cradled Noah, gently rocking him like a lullaby. Emily's voice cracked. "Give me my baby." The woman tilted her head, smiling faintly. Her voice was barely a whisper, almost like wind. "I kept him quiet. just like she told me. Emily whispered. The woman stepped closer, revealing a faded scar around her neck. The mother who lived here before you. She didn't like the noise. Said if I kept the baby quiet, he'd stay forever. Lightning flashed, and for a split second, Emily saw dozens of handprints smeared across the crawlspace walls. Small ones, baby-sized. Terror surged through her. You're not real, Emily muttered, backing away. You're dead. The woman's expression turned sorrowful. Then why does he still cry? A loud, piercing baby wail filled the crawlspace, echoing through the house. Emily screamed and lunged forward, grabbing Noah from the woman's icy arms. The moment she touched him, the woman's body disintegrated into a cloud of gray ash that scattered across the floor. Emily stumbled out, clutching Noah tightly. But as she entered the nursery, she realized the crying hadn't stopped. The monitor blinked on again, showing her standing in the same spot, holding an empty blanket. Noah wasn't in her arms. No, 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 she whispered, frantically looking down. The blanket was hollow, empty. The baby monitor's static twisted into a distorted lullaby, and the voice, soft, maternal, and broken, whispered, "You took him from me. Now I'll take you." The lights flickered violently, and behind her, the nursery door slammed shut on its own. Emily screamed, but this time no one heard her. The slam of the nursery door echoed through the house like thunder. Emily threw herself against it, but it wouldn't budge. The handle twisted violently in her hands, as if someone, or something, was holding it from the other side. "Noah!" she screamed, pounding on the wood. "Give him back." The baby monitor on the floor flickered again. Static filled the room, followed by the faint sound of a heartbeat. Slow, uneven. It wasn't Noah's. It was hers. The walls began to pulse faintly, as if the house itself were breathing. Paint cracked, lights flickered, and the soft lullaby from the crib began playing backward. Emily stumbled back, clutching her head. Then, from beneath the floorboards, came the unmistakable sound of crying, dozens of babies crying in unison. She fell to her knees, tears streaming down her face. "Please," she begged, "I just want my son." Then came a whisper from behind her ear, cold and childlike. "Then stay with him." Emily turned slowly and saw the reflection in the window. The woman in white stood behind her again, but now her face was Emily's. Same eyes, same expression. The nursery lights dimmed until only the soft blue glow of the baby monitor remained. On the screen, Emily saw herself sitting in the rocking chair, cradling something in her arms, humming softly. But she wasn't moving. The real Emily, frozen, staring at the monitor, stepped closer. The air felt heavier, colder. The figure in the monitor slowly turned its head, locking eyes with her through the screen. Then it smiled. A whisper echoed through the nursery, calm and final. "He's safe now. You both are." The monitor went dark. The house fell completely silent. Outside, the storm stopped. The first light of dawn crept across the sky. But inside, the nursery door never opened again. When the police arrived that morning, the house stood unnervingly quiet. The front door was locked from the inside, and every window was sealed shut, as if untouched for years. Officer Daniels called out, "Miss Carter?" His voice echoed down the hallway, swallowed by still air. The nursery door creaked open on its own. Dust motes floated in the golden light, filtering through torn curtains. Inside, everything was frozen in time. The crib, the toys, the rocking chair still swaying faintly. But there was no sign of Emily or baby Noah. On the wall above the crib, someone had written in faded letters, "He sleeps now." Daniel's partner, Officer Lee, found an old baby monitor sitting on the dresser. Still plugged in, he murmured, surprised. The screen flickered to life. For a second, there was only static. Then an image slowly formed. Emily, sitting in the rocking chair, smiling softly, humming a lullaby while cradling Noah in her arms. But her eyes were hollow, her movements too smooth, too mechanical, like a loop. Lee swallowed hard. Is this live? The moment he asked, Emily's head in the monitor snapped upward, looking straight at the camera. The lullaby stopped. Her voice came through the speaker, distant and cold. You woke him. The monitor screen shattered. Both officers stumbled back, drawing their flashlights, but the room was now empty. The rocking chair had stopped moving. Weeks later, the house was declared abandoned. No bodies were ever found. Neighbors say they still hear the lullaby at night when the wind blows from the east. Some claim they've seen a light flicker in the nursery window, and a shadow rocking back and forth, holding something small. And every new tenant who's tried to live there says the same thing on their first night. They hear a baby crying through the walls.